Good morning, recruitment junkies. I hope you're all well. There's no craziness today. I think I got it out of my system, although I think I might have something a little bit special for tomorrow. You can say hello to my son, who is in the background. Does everyone remember that guy who? Does everyone remember that guy who was? I think he was on ABC. And he was an expert in Asia. There's Mrs. Moyle. And he was basically doing a webcast for the news channel, and his 2-year-old ran in, and the wife or sort of crawled in, grabbed the baby. We're not laughing at him anymore, are we? We're not laughing at him anymore. So the theme for the day is sort of how do we keep our brains straight now. I'm a big believer in brainwashing because brainwashing in of itself is not good or bad. It just depends what you're washing your brain with. And so one of the problems is that in challenging times like this, it's really easy for dirty thoughts to get into our head. And those dirty thoughts cycle around the head and sort of pollute our perspective on the world. Today, 1 o'clock for the members, I'm joined by Ben Browning, and we're talking more about motivation. But what we want to try and I think I've got toothpaste here. Oh, yeah, that's nature doing it early. But we've got to think about how do we wash our brains with good thoughts? How do we put good things into our head to give ourselves something to be going on? So as we go through the session today, what I'd encourage everyone to do is to share their most motivational book and why it's a motivational book for them. We've already got a couple of suggestions, but we're going to be going through those at the end of the startup. But what we've got to be doing is helping our heads. So the first book I'm gonna share is Serve to Lead, and Serve to Lead is a concept that it's probably been around for thousands of years. Alexander the Great, sort of like leaders eat last and all that sort of stuff. But it's the leadership motto of the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst. And I learned about Serve to Lead from my father, who was an officer in the army. And what he used to say is that Serve to Lead was really about the concept of the leadership mindset. What is your purpose from being a leader? And as an officer in the army, the objective is not negotiable. Sort of taking the hill, as it were, is not negotiable. But how you take the hill is really what it's about. And what you need to do is to engender a feeling in your soldiers that they believe that whilst you're going to take the hill, you're also thinking about their well-being at the same time. If you're a mad, crazy fool, they're unlikely to follow you because they think you want the glory as opposed to them continuing to live as well as achieving the objective. But if they believe you've got a plan and they believe that plan minimizes the risk to themselves and gives them the best chance of coming back, they'll follow you to the ends of the earth. And that is so important for today's sort of situation, is that many of the leaders on this call and many of the leaders that watch the startup, I know are desperately upset about the fact that they've got to furlough their staff. They're desperately upset about the fact that the economic situation we may come out of this situation in may not allow them to keep everyone that they've committed to on within the organization. And it's that desire to want to do the best by your staff as well as achieving your objectives at the same time is so important. So Serve to Lead. There's loads of stuff on there if you go online. But Serve to Lead is a fantastic book. The next book is Edgar Deschênes, and he I'm not very good at my sort of German names. I think he's German. Where is he? Yeah. Anyway, so the book is called The Humble Inquiry, and it's really about the art of asking questions. It's about the art of showing knowledge through having the courage to say, I don't know. And one of the this sort of comes into resonance recently. I was recently listening to a podcast. I think it was the Best Marketing Books podcast. And it was a podcast about the changes in Microsoft and how under Steve Ballmer, they had what's called a know-all knowledge. Anyone that's worked in a US corporation will know about this know-all knowledge, which is if you basically say, I don't know, you probably get fired, or you get told, I don't pay you to not know, I pay you to know. But as long as you know that I have the best ideas. So that sort of pervades US culture. And Microsoft's moved under their current CEO into a much more of a growth mindset, which is much more about questioning, admitting failure, saying that you don't know. And the humble inquiry is really about if you don't agree with someone, it's having the courage to ask why. It's about seeking to understand first before you try and disagree and argue. And in the nature of the client and candidate conversations that we're having at the moment, and our customer conversations, it's really about understanding their situation. How are they being impacted? What do they think the long-term consequences will be? I have no idea what the long-term consequences are. I can guess, but I don't think anyone really knows. So the Humble Inquiry is a great book. Dearie me. There we are. The next book I've chosen is The Go-Giver. It's one of those sort of little business book parable type stories, and it's about building a business. It's about building relationships through giving forward, building credit in that emotional bank account. I think it was Stephen Covey in Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talked about the emotional bank account, or was it Dale Carnegie in How to Win Friends and Influence People? I always get confused. But the emotional bank account is a bank account that we've all got with every relationship that we have. We all know that we've got friends that when the phone rings, they want something. And that means that in our brains, we know that they're overdrawn. They often take, but they never give. It's a bit like the individual that's always the last to go to the bar to buy a round of drinks. Those that every time you do something for someone, you make a deposit in the emotional bank account. Every time you help someone out, you make a deposit and you have a credit that then you can withdraw at another time. What's been fantastic within social media and all the suppliers that I see within the industry, whether it be the sales industry or the recruitment industry, is that there's a tremendous amount of giving from providers. You've got Hinterview offering 3 months free to any company that wants to implement video interviewing in their business. The recruiting gyms giving free membership out at recruitinggym.com to lots of to basically anyone that wants it within the recruiting industry. It's about building credit in the emotional bank account. And remember, I'm a believer in karmic balance, which means often you're giving forward, but you will often receive from a different place than you give. But at the end of the day, it will work out equal. So remember the good things that happen over the next few weeks. And remember that might not have come directly from something that you've done, but because you've karmically built some credit by doing something good somewhere else, good things will happen. It's a bit sort of like kumbaya for this time of the morning, but that's just how my brain works. So The Go-Giver is a good one. This is a good one. It's called Business Development Culture. It's by this guy called Alex. I quite like it, but I might be a bit biased. And the last one is another one from Edgar Deschines, and it's building on the Humble Inquiry, and it's really about helping. And you're probably noticing there's a flavor in this morning's startup, is that it's all about giving forward. It's about helping, and it's about asking questions and learning. And I'm learning loads. I might not like having to learn at the moment. These are lessons I would rather not know and not learn. But that's what this is all about. So let's go through some of the book recommendations we go. So the last one that's just come in, Justine Harris, The Places You'll Go by Dr. Zeus. Steve Carter, a good friend of mine, gives that out to a lot of his clients. I was given it for the first time about 25 years ago when I used to sell educational books door to door. I give it out to clients today as well. So it's a fantastic book. And actually, Justine, what I'm going to do is I'll read it one of these morning startups, or you can come and read it for us. So The Places You'll Go by Dr. Zeus. It's a great one for kids. It's a great one to play with, to read to your team. So I'm sure you enjoy it. And there's some YouTube clips on there as well. Tracy Harris from Harris Lord's got Atomic Habits by James Clear. It teaches you how to make good habits, but more importantly, break bad ones. I'm all for breaking bad habits. My approach to habits is I can't lose a habit, but I can try and replace it with another. So I'm trying to give up sugar or sweets and cakes, and I'm replacing it with nuts. So literally, I'm like a machine gun when I at the moment, but I'm not eating any cakes. We've got Sarah Clark's got the Chimp Paradox. The Chimp Paradox also has a kids version, and so this is about your monkey brain, the angry brain that does bad things and responds emotionally. The kids version is fantastic. So we've got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and we've worked through that Chimp book. It's got lots of exercises in, and it's actually, if you wanted to do some homeschooling on things that are never part of the national curriculum, that would be a great book to work through with the family. So it's about an awareness of like when just anger and the red mist takes over. Steve Moran's talked about Legacy by James Kerr. That's always a popular one. And Malcolm Gladwell. Oh, there's so many from Malcolm Gladwell. But Steve Moran said Tipping Point and Bounce. He hasn't said why, but I'm sure he'll pop something in a minute. Gareth is talking about one that I've never heard of before. The 100-year-old man who climbed out of the window and disappeared. Mysterious. What could that be? What could that be about? I just think that's the author wanting a business card that has like 3 lines on his job title. So, and then the first one came from Sarah, which is The First Man In, from a chap called Ant Middleton, and I imagine that's a military one, but it's about basically dedication and not giving up and grit. And all of those things they're important. Remember, the whole purpose of these morning startups is giving you something you can think about in the day that you can control. And what you can control today is the information you put up your brain. I'm not sure if anyone else has given up reading the newspapers, but literally my first thing I do in the morning is open up the newspaper app. But I'm just hesitating now, and I'm like, it's just going to be the same. We've got to feed our brains with things that are going to help us. Just doing these shows feeds my brain because I love the feedback that we get. We've got an evolution whereby the same link will work every day now. Woo! So it's a fantastic day to just thinking about how are you going to feed your brain. Not only your brain, but how are you going to feed the brain of your teams? I know some organizations have bought everybody the same book, and everybody has the same book, and every day they say everybody reads this like 10 pages, or they all read one chapter. And then within Slack or Teams, they discuss what they learn from that, or they get on a Teams call to discuss it. The point is we need to be feeding each other's brains with positivity, not delusion, like it's all okay. But we've got to sort of think about how are we puzzling through this? How are we going to grow from it? How are we going to learn from it? So that's it for today. I'm loving these stand-ups. I really appreciate everyone joining me every day. Please join the Recruiting Gym. There's loads of stuff in there for free. I'm posting a podcast today, which will be around how to run and manage a virtual interview process with a chap called Constanti, is a good client of mine. And look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care now. Bye.